Hello, my name is Dr. Christian Wilder. I am an assistant professor in the College of Theology, and I teach mainly in the online side. My area of specialty is Old Testament, which brings us to our topic for this video. The topic is, how should we read the Sixth Commandment? The King James Version and American Standard Version, as well as some others, will read, "Thou shalt not kill," but other versions read, "Do not murder." Which one's correct? To answer that question, we have to go back to the Hebrew language. And in the Hebrew language, the word that's used there specifically means the unjust taking of human life. Now, what's fascinating about this word is that throughout the Old Testament, it's used in that same way, except for one place. And that is in the book of Deuteronomy, where they're giving a bunch of laws and the justice system for ancient Israel. And in there, there's a person who's designated to take life if the other person has killed someone. And the phrase that's used there is, he is to murder the murderer. In that, the author is actually saying that the person who committed a crime of unjustly taking life must have his life taken in the same way. Now, the question may arise, are there other words that can be used in the Old Testament to mean kill or the taking of life? And the answer is yes, there is. One word is what we would translate simply as to die. But in Hebrew, there is what's called a causal stem. And when a word is used in that stem, it means that the subject is causing the verb to the object. And we see this all of the time in the Old Testament, where so-and-so caused so-and-so to die. In fact, if you go back to that same passage in Deuteronomy, what you find is, a little bit earlier, it reads that the person who's designated is to cause the death of the person who committed murder. And moreover, the person who caused the death is not guilty of murder. So, I think from a purely Old Testament perspective, it's pretty clear that the text says, do not murder, and that it's an unjust taking of life. And really interestingly, that's never used for Israel or their enemies in a time of war. But as Christians, we can't just leave it in the Old Testament. We must take all of our Old Testament interpretation and bring it through the New Testament. And so, as we move into the New Testament, we see that Jesus speaks to this exact same commandment in the Sermon on the Mount, in chapter 5 of Matthew. There, he anonymizes the text. And instead of saying Moses says, he says, you have heard it said, which is placing Jesus at a higher level than Moses. Now, that should signal to us as Christians that this is something we really need to pay attention to when it comes to the Sixth Commandment. And then he equates murder with anger, that we shouldn't even be angry with our brothers and sisters. But then he goes even further than that, and he says that we shouldn't even call people blockhead or a fool. And if you think about all of these terms and anger, what he's saying is anything we do that hurts or damages or causes us to negatively view the image of God in another person is the equivalent of the Old Testament command, do not murder. So as Christians, what we read is that the unjust taking of life is wrong, according to the Old Testament, the Ten Commandments. And Jesus doesn't negate that at all. We also read that any kind of a dehumanization is wrong, according to Jesus. But the question then is, how does that work within the rest of the New Testament? And of course, there are other people who will answer that question. But for us, looking at the Ten Commandments, and specifically the Sixth Commandment, we can conclude by saying, do not unjustly take life. And if you're in a place where you are in the military or a situation like perhaps those who are caught in the war right now, do not let anger take your heart. And if you're a place where you have to be on the front lines, be careful how you view your enemy. Because the issue may not be as much whether you have to pull the trigger or not, but what is your heart when you have to do it? Thank you.